My name is Abigail Foster, 28 years old, the founder and CEO of Luxe Thread Studio, a fashion brand I built from nothing, pouring into it my heart, youth, and every cent I ever earned. That night, I sat in my glass-walled office on the 20th floor, the city lights of Richmond flickering outside like 1,000 silent witnesses. I was reviewing sketches for the new collection when my phone buzzed. A notification lit up the screen. Instagram. My younger brother had posted, finally blocking my negative sister. Family will be better without her drama. The words hit like a cold blade twisting in my chest. Within minutes, the post was flooded with likes, hundreds then thousands. Comments from relatives poured in. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all applauding him, calling me toxic, selfish, useless. My throat tightened, but I didn't reply. I didn't call. I didn't defend myself. I simply stared at the glowing screen, letting every cruel word sting like salt on an open wound. He had no idea who I truly was. To him, I'd always been the sister who didn't understand, the one lost in his shadow. But for years, I'd been the one running Luxe Thread, turning a modest $20,000 loan into a global fashion name. His post wasn't just cruel, it was a lie. The real pain wasn't in his betrayal, but in knowing that my family believed it. I could have exposed the truth with a single post, revealed everything right then and there. But I didn't. Instead, I made one phone call. 20 minutes later, his biggest opportunity, a $50,000 sponsorship deal, was gone. Not out of spite, but because actions always have consequences. And this was only the beginning. Before we move forward, tell me something. Where are you watching from and what time is it where you are? I want to see how far this story travels. After reading that post, I picked up my phone and called Megan. My hands trembled, though my voice stayed calm. Megan, it's Abigail. I need you to cancel a sponsorship deal, the graphic designer Ethan Walsh. End it tonight. Megan Holt, my closest ally at Luxe Thread, hesitated. Ethan Walsh? The one with that bold portfolio? Why? I took a slow breath, the sting of Ethan's post still raw. He's my brother, I said, bitterness lacing my voice. And his recent behavior doesn't align with our company's values. Silence stretched across the line before Megan spoke again, her tone uncertain. Your brother, Abigail? I had no idea. What happened? I leaned against my desk, the Richmond skyline blurring behind the glass. He posted something, called me negative, said the family's better without me. It's a conflict of interest to fund someone who disrespects our brand's leader. My tone stayed firm even as my chest ached. Ethan, 24, a designer with wild dreams, had no clue I was the one funding his big break. He thought I was just the sister who didn't get him, not the woman running a fashion empire. Abigail, this is major, Megan said softly. That deal was huge for him. He'll be devastated. I nodded, though she couldn't see. He made his choice. Consequences follow. Megan sighed. All right. I'll send the cancellation email tonight. But are you sure? This sounds personal. I clenched my jaw. It's business. Luxe Thread doesn't support people who tear us down. She agreed reluctantly. When the call ended, relief washed over me, bittersweet and heavy. Ethan's words had cut deep, but this wasn't vengeance. It was accountability. That I opened my laptop again, pulling up the sponsorship file. His portfolio still glowed on my screen, vivid designs that once made me proud. He'd been ecstatic when he'd told me about his big break, not knowing I'd arranged it. I'd believed in his potential even when our parents didn't believe in mine. Susan and Robert, our parents, always praised Ethan's sketches, while my degree in business was labeled safe, not creative. I had built Luxe Thread from that same practicality, turning a $20,000 seed into a force in Richmond's fashion world. His post wasn't just personal. It was a strike at the integrity of what I'd worked so hard for. Megan texted, email drafted. Want me to send? I replied instantly. Send it. I trusted her to make it sound professional. Strategic misalignment. No emotion, no bias. Ethan would dig, of course. He'd rage, demand answers, maybe post again. Let him. I wasn't hiding anymore. The office was silent except for the hum of the city. Megan's question echoed in my mind. Was it personal? Maybe. But it was also about respect. Ethan had crossed a line, and I was done letting him trample boundaries. I stood and began pacing. The sponsorship was his ticket, galleries, clients, credibility. Without it, he'd stumble, maybe even fall. The thought hurt. He was still my brother, the same kid who used to doodle on my notebooks and laugh when I did. But that version of him was gone, replaced by someone who humiliated me in public. I stopped pacing, my decision firm. LuxThread wasn't just my career. It was my legacy. And if he couldn't honor that, he didn't deserve its support. As I locked up the office that night, a calm certainty settled over me. This wasn't revenge, it was justice. He'd learned soon enough what his actions had cost him. When the city went quiet, memories began surfacing, fragments from a childhood I'd buried. Growing up in Richmond, Ethan had always been the star. My parents glowed when he drew bold sketches on scrap paper, calling him a born artist. I'd sit quietly at the kitchen table, math homework untouched, watching them pin his drawings to the fridge like trophies. I was the practical one, the hard worker, never the favorite. One Christmas stands out. Ethan was 12. He unwrapped a professional art kit. Brushes, paints, hundreds of dollars worth of tools. His face lit up as he hugged them, promising to make something amazing. I got a used business book. Useful, my mom said, smiling faintly. That same year I saved every cent from my part-time job to buy an old clunky laptop. I taught myself web design, dreaming of something greater. Mom called it clever, but her eyes stayed on Ethan's canvas. Dad half listened, asking Ethan about his next masterpiece. I learned then that I'd have to shine without their spotlight. I had built LuxThread Studio, turned a dream into a thriving reality. Yet to them, I was just the dramatic sister. My phone buzzed again, a private message from Mom. Abigail, please let this go. Ethan's under so much stress with his career. He didn't mean it. I stared at her message, my jaw clenching. Stress. That was the excuse. Ethan's stress justified public humiliation, and somehow I was expected to stay quiet for the sake of peace. I typed out a response, then deleted it. I wasn't going to beg for respect. Setting my phone down, my hands trembled, but I refused to play the peacemaker they always expected. Across town, Tyler was sitting in a bar with a few colleagues from the design world. Between drinks, someone mentioned a rumor: Ethan's $50,000 sponsorship deal, the one he'd bragged about for weeks, had been canceled. Heard it was because of that Instagram post, one of them said. No brand wants to back someone dragging family drama online. Looks unprofessional. Tyler froze. His mind raced. He hadn't connected the dots yet, but he knew I worked in fashion. Could I have been involved? Later, he pulled Ethan aside, lowering his voice. Man, you need to fix this. That post might have cost you that deal. Talk to Abigail. Apologize before this spreads. Ethan scoffed, brushing him off. Apologize? She's the one who's always judging me. But Tyler persisted, his tone sharp. Your name's already being dragged in circles, Ethan. You can't afford to look like the villain here. Ethan hesitated, the confidence draining from his expression. Tyler's words hit where it hurt most, his reputation. Reluctantly, he agreed to reach out. He had no idea what he was walking into. Back in my apartment, Mom's message replayed in my mind, that quiet plea to let it go. I could have called her and told her everything. How I'd built LuxThread from nothing, how Ethan's post wasn't just personal, it was professional sabotage. But I didn't. I wasn't ready to reveal everything. Not to people who'd already chosen their side. Hannah, Deborah, Martin, my parents. They'd made their decision without ever asking for mine. I don't accept disrespect. I whispered to myself, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Ethan's post and their applause had drawn a clear line. I wasn't crossing it to make them comfortable that I turned off my phone. The endless notifications stopped. Let them rally behind Ethan. Let Tyler stir the gossip. I'd already made my move, and I stood by it. Ethan would soon learn that words carry weight. And I wasn't the sister he could dismiss anymore. 3 days later, I walked into a dim Richmond bar. The low chatter and soft lighting felt like a shield. I spotted Ethan at a corner table, fidgeting with a glass, his usual confidence replaced with unease. He'd texted that morning asking to meet, saying he wanted to clear the air. I'd agreed, not because I expected change, but because I needed closure. He stood as I approached, his voice quieter than I remembered. Abigail, I'm sorry about the post, he said. I didn't mean for it to blow up like that. I sat across from him, face unreadable, waiting for more. I was stressed, he continued quickly. Been pitching to galleries, chasing that big sponsorship. I snapped. I posted without thinking. I was scared of losing my chance. His eyes searched mine, hoping for sympathy. I stayed silent, letting him squirm. Ethan always had an excuse. Always a reason. Always a way to shift the blame. Not this time. That I took a slow sip of my drink, then set the glass down. You called me negative, I said evenly. Said the family's better off without me. You made it public. That wasn't an accident, Ethan. It was a choice. He ran a hand through his hair, wincing. I didn't think you'd care that much. It's just social media. I leaned forward, my voice sharp. You don't get it, do you? I'm the founder of Lux Thread Studio. That $50,000 sponsorship you lost? I approved it. And I canceled it because of that post. The air froze between us. Ethan's mouth fell open, his face paling. Your Lux Thread, he stammered. No way. You never said. I built that company from a $20,000 loan, I said calmly. I saw your portfolio, believed in you and gave you a chance. And you repaid me by dragging my name through the mud. Ethan shook his head, panicked. Abigail, I didn't know. I thought you just worked there. If I'd known. You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with respect. I cut in. You chose to humiliate me. And now you're facing the consequences. The space between us grew heavy. Ethan's voice rose, trembling. So that's it? You tanked my career over one post. I met his stare. No. You tanked your own career. Lux Thread doesn't back people who go against its values. You made it personal. Not me. He opened his mouth, then stopped. Defeated, he muttered. I need to think. And left, his steps unsteadied. I exhaled, the tension finally breaking. My phone buzzed, a text from Megan. How'd it go with Ethan? He knows the truth now, I typed back. Didn't take it well. Her reply came quickly. You okay? Yeah. Just tired. Relief washed over me, but it didn't feel like victory, just quiet exhaustion. Confronting him hadn't fixed the damage or erased the loneliness. But something inside me felt lighter, steadier. Reclaimed that I finished my drink and stepped out into the cool Richmond night, ready for whatever came next. That weekend, I drove to my parents' house for Mom's birthday. The familiar street, lined with oak trees, felt heavier than it used to. Inside, the living room buzzed with relatives, Hannah, Deborah, Martin, laughing over cake and champagne. Ethan stood by the fireplace, avoiding my gaze. Dad poured drinks. Mom fussed with decorations. I forced a polite smile, clutching the gift bag tighter than I meant to. The warmth in the room didn't touch me. This was family, but I'd never felt more alone. When the chatter dimmed for the toast, I cleared my throat. My voice cut through the noise. Before we celebrate, I said, I need to say something. All eyes turned to me. I'm Abigail Foster, founder of Lux Thread Studio. I started it with a $20,000 loan and built it into a brand redefining Richmond fashion. The room fell silent. Forks froze midair. Ethan stiffened. Mom's smile wavered. Dad frowned. Hannah whispered something to Deborah. Eyes wide. I continued, steady. I gave Ethan a $50,000 sponsorship because I believed in his talent. I canceled it when he disrespected me online. Mom stepped forward, her voice sharp. Abigail, you're overreacting. It was just a post. He's been under so much pressure. Dad crossed his arms. You didn't have to ruin his opportunity over a misunderstanding. The sting was expected. They'd always defended him. I stood taller. It wasn't a misunderstanding. He said the family's better without me. And you all agreed, didn't you? Silence. Hannah, Deborah, Martin, all looking away. Tyler tried to mediate. Hey, come on, Abigail. You've done amazing things. Let's not make this a fight. But I saw it clearly now. To them, Ethan's art was brilliance. My success was an afterthought. Mom reached for my arm. We're proud of you, honey. But family sticks together. Don't make this bigger than it is. I pulled back, my voice firm. Family respects each other. I won't stay where I'm dismissed. I set the gift bag on the table, the tag neatly labeled Mom. Happy birthday, I said quietly. Then I turned and walked out, the door clicking shut behind me. Their voices faded behind me like a memory dissolving in the dark as I sat in my car, the hurt pressing heavy against my ribs. Their excuses, their silence, the weight of never being seen. But as I drove through the quiet Richmond streets, I felt something stronger take root. Peace. I was done chasing their approval. Cutting them off would hurt, but it was the only way forward. The city lights blurred outside my window, glowing reminders of the life I'd built myself. Lux Thread was my truth, my strength. They might never see it, but I did, and that was enough. The next day I sat in my apartment, the Richmond skyline glittering beyond the glass. My phone lay on the coffee table, dark and still. I opened my contacts, scrolling through names that once felt like home. Ethan, Mom, Dad, Hannah, Deborah, Martin. One by one I deleted them. Each tap felt final, quiet, freeing. It wasn't rage driving me. It was clarity that I'd spent my life waiting for them to see me. Now I finally saw myself. But their silence at the birthday party proved they never would. Cutting them off was my final step to reclaim my peace. I turned my focus to Lux Thread Studio. The team was buzzing. I was deep in preparations for a $2 million campaign launching our fall collection. I reviewed the mood boards, vivid fabrics, daring patterns, and finalized agreements with our top retailers. Every decision reminded me how far I'd come from that first $20,000 loan. Lux Thread wasn't just a business. It was the answer to every doubt and dismissal I'd ever faced. I threw myself into the work, letting it quiet the sting of walking away from my family. Across town, Ethan was unraveling. Word about his canceled sponsorship spread fast through Richmond's design circles. Galleries that once courted him now hesitated, wary of his public meltdown. A designer texted bluntly, "That Instagram post made you look unprofessional." Hard to bounce back from that. His once celebrated portfolio now sat untouched on desks, gathering dust. With each rejection, his confidence cracked. Nights were spent scrolling job boards, hope fading with every refreshed MY phone buzz. "Tyler. Abigail, I'm sorry. Ethan's a mess. He didn't mean to hurt you. Can we talk?" I stared at the message, thumb hovering over reply. Tyler meant well, but his loyalty was with Ethan, not me. I'd heard enough apologies, enough excuses. I swiped the message away. Responding would only drag me back into a cycle I'd already broken free from. Setting boundaries felt like exhaling after years of holding my breath. Saying no to my family wasn't cruelty, it was self-preservation. I'd spent too long trying to prove my worth to people who never saw it. Lux Thread was proof enough. My truth. My value. And I refused to let anyone diminish it again. I leaned back, the city's lights spilling across the room, feeling something close to peace. Boundaries weren't barriers, they were bridges to a life built on self-respect. Later that week, Megan stopped by the studio. We sat in my office, sunlight spilling through the windows as she grinned over the campaign sketches. "Abigail, this is stunning," she said warmly. "You've built something unstoppable." Her words soothed more than she knew. She didn't bring up Ethan, my parents, or the chaos, just my work, my victory. We talked about the future, the designs, the vision ahead. For the first time in weeks, I felt seen for who I was, not what I'd endured. A month later, I stood in the conference room watching the Lux Thread team buzz with excitement. The energy was electric, designs pinned up, fabrics draped, ideas sparking everywhere. I felt grounded, proud, steady. Meanwhile, Ethan's world kept shrinking. His outburst had left a stain he couldn't scrub clean. 2 galleries dropped him, citing professional standards. Friends who once hyped his talent now kept quiet, avoiding his calls. A design firm rejected his pitch with a short note. "We value discretion in our collaborators." He was learning the lesson I already had. Words online have power. My phone lit up with missed calls from my parents. My mom left a voicemail, her tone soft but urgent. "Abigail, please talk to us. We're family." My dad's text followed, requests to meet, to sort things out. I couldn't do it. Each message reopened an old wound I was finally letting heal. Keeping my distance wasn't anger, it was clarity. I'd broken free from the cycle of dismissal that had defined us. Looking back, the story was clear. From a $20,000 loan to a $2 million campaign, I'd built something from nothing. Every sleepless night, every risk, every no had led to this Lux Thread, my proof that I was enough. But my greatest success wasn't the brand. It was learning to value myself. Setting boundaries meant refusing to shrink for anyone, even family. It hurt, yes. But it freed me. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. What you post online isn't fleeting, it echoes. Ethan's decision to call me negative didn't just bruise my heart. It reshaped his future. Words matter. Respect matters. And their absence leaves marks that never quite fade. I learned to stand firm, to choose myself when no one else would. To everyone listening, thank you for walking through this story with me. It's not easy to share something so personal, but I hope it resonates. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family or friends? Tell me how you found your strength. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. Your support means everything. I stepped out of the conference room. The Richmond skyline shimmered through the glass. Lux Thread was thriving, and so was I. I wasn't the sister craving validation anymore. I was Abigail Foster, living my truth without apology.